The M16 has been called a plastic toy, a death trap, and the finest infantry rifle ever fielded. Sometimes all three by the same people about the same gun. 60 plus years, multiple variants, still in service somewhere right now. We're going to walk through how that happened, and I'll be aided by these two Luth AR builds throughout the entire story. Stick around. I'm Sam, and this is AT3 Tactical's Complete M16 Evolution. To understand the M16, you have to go back further than Vietnam, further than Colt. You start with Eugene Stoner with a small California company called ArmaLite. Stoner was ArmaLite's chief engineer in the mid-1950s, a company founded specifically to bring modern materials into firearm design, which was a genuinely fresh idea at the time. In 1956, he finishes the AR-10, a 7.62 rifle built around aluminum receivers, polymer stocks, direct impingement gas systems. Lighter, more modern than anything else on the table. The Army passed on it. They already committed to the M14, a conventional wood and steel battle rifle that was basically the last gasp of the World War II mindset in American small arms. 2 years later, Stoner scales down the AR-10 and chambers it in .223 Remington. The AR-15 is born. ArmaLite, strapped for cash, sells the design to Colt. The sale is really the pivot point everything else turns on. By the early 1960s, the situation in Vietnam was escalating. The M14 was proving to be a problem in jungle terrain, heavy, long, and not well suited for close-range fighting American troops were running into. The AR-15 catches attention fast. General Curtis LeMay got his hands on an AR-15 at a 4th of July cookout in 1960. He shot 2 watermelons downrange, and when asked if he wanted to shoot a third, placed next to the 2 prior, he looked down the sights and said, verbatim, "Let's eat the son of a bitch." He was sold. As military procurement stories go, that one was basically hard to beat. Someday we should cover what we did that made us settle on the 1911 and 45 ACP. We shot cows.
Did we really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Back when that was acceptable. In 1963, Colt gets contracts for 85,000 rifles, designated the XM16E1 for the Army, and another 19,000 for the Air Force. Those Air Force rifles were simply designated the M16. Essentially a direct AR-15 with military markings. No forward assist, clean slab, slick side, receiver, 3-prong flash hider. Internally, Colt called those early guns the Model 601 and the 602. We've got a full deep dive on the Colt 602 linked right here in the description, and you can find that in this card, because I can do that. Editing, it's right here. The Air Force officially adopted the M16 in 1964. The Army followed in 1965, and in 1967, the XM16E1 was officially redesignated the standard U.S. infantry rifle as the M16A1. But here's where it gets ugly. This is one of the most damning stories in American military history. And I don't say that to be dramatic. And the M16A1 didn't just have teething problems. Soldiers were dying because of it. The M16s hit Vietnam in volume. Reports of catastrophic jamming started coming back almost immediately. Troops were found dead with cleaning rods jammed down their barrels because they had been trying to clear malfunctions in the middle of a firefight. The causes stacked up fast. The Army had quietly switched from the original specified power in their ammo to standard ball powder, the same stuff used in the 7.62 NATO ammo. And that change produced dramatically more fouling in a direct impingement gas system. More fouling meant more jams. That combined with a decision that is genuinely hard to believe, Colt had marketed the M16 to the military as self-cleaning. Not low maintenance, self-cleaning. No cleaning kits were procured, no maintenance training was conducted. Soldiers did not have the tools or the knowledge to clean a rifle that desperately needed to be cleaned. The rifle was redesigned. First was the chrome-lined bore and chamber. Then the 3-prong flash hider, which kept snagging on jungle vegetation, was replaced with a birdcage design. A full fence was added around the magazine release. And finally, proper cleaning kits and actual training finally followed. What came out the other side was the M16A1 in its final definitive form. Forward assist, birdcage flash hider, chrome-lined 20-inch pencil barrel, triangular handguards, M16A1 furniture. This is what finished the fight in Vietnam, and this is what one of our Luth AR builds is directly based on. Fast forward to the late 1970s, NATO is standardizing ammunition, settling on the Belgian-designed SS-109 round what we know as M855, a heavier 62 grain projectile. The M16A1's 1 in 12 twist was not set up to stabilize it. So the A2 gets developed. The changes were significant. There was a new 1 in 7 twist rate and a heavier barrel profile forward of the handguard. Round symmetrical handguards replaced the triangle ones, so armors didn't have to stock the left and right spares. An improved adjustable rear sight, brass deflector for left-handed shooters, a stronger buttstock lengthened 5/8 of an inch. Marines adopted it in 1983. The Army followed in 1986. It went to Grenada, Panama, Somalia, and the Gulf War. Then there's the selector switch. Full auto was replaced with 3-round burst. The logic was that soldiers under fire tended to dump their entire magazines on automatic without putting much on target. Burst would force fire discipline. Soldiers hated it, not without reason. The burst cam resets independent of the trigger, so fire 2-round burst, release, and your next pull only sends 1 round. It's kind of a compromise that pretty clearly came from people who'd never been in a fight. A quick note on the A3, because that designation gets misused constantly, even in the industry. The actual military M16A3 is not a flat top rifle. It's the M16A2 with full auto restored in place to the burst setting, built in limited numbers specifically for the Navy SEALs and Seabees. It looks almost identical to the A2, fixed carry handle, same stock, same barrel. The only real difference is what the selector does. People get confused because civilian manufacturers used A3 for years to label flat top uppers. That is a marketing convention, not a military designation. The military flat top is actually the A4. By the time the global war on terror kicked off, it was obvious that fixed carry handle and iron sights wasn't going to work anymore. Optics were becoming standard issue, not a special request. The M16A4 dropped the fixed carry handle and replaced it with a flat top Picatinny rail upper. Optics ready from the factory, Knight's Armament had their quad rail handguards on most Marine Corps variants. The first were battle tested during the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Marines put optic-equipped A4s through the Battle of Fallujah in 2004. The headshot count coming out of Fallujah was so disproportionate that investigators initially suspected war crimes. What they found instead was that insurgents were hiding behind concrete cover with only their heads exposed, and ACOG-equipped Marines were accurate enough to consistently hit the target. The Corps was cleared. The rifle got the credit. The A4 was the end of the line for the full-length M16 as a primary service rifle. By 2015, Marine infantry units began transitioning to the M4. The A4 moved to support roles. Today, the M16 as a frontline U.S. service rifle is effectively retired. The M4 took over for most roles. Marines shifted infantry to the M27 IAR. The Army is now fielding the SIG XM5 to start replacing the M4 in select combat roles. The platform itself never went away though. The civilian AR-15, built directly on Stoner's original design, is the most popular center-fire rifle in America. The M16's DNA is in tens of millions of civilian rifles, and builders have kept pushing it forward, shorter, lighter, and more modular with better furniture, internals, than any military ever actually spec'd from the factory. That is exactly what the second Luth AR build represents. That's the story these two rifles tell. The M16A1 style build is where the platform found its footing. 20-inch pencil barrel, 3-prong flash hider, triangular handguards, and the classic Vietnam-era profile. This modern flat top build is where the platform went next. Shorter, lighter, more adjustable, and built around the kind of modular parts AR shooters expect today. Same basic DNA, two completely different eras. If you want the full parts breakdown on both these builds, hit the link in the description. We've got a deeper blog post there, along with more Luth AR and the history behind these rifles. And if you want to go deeper on where all of this started, the Colt 602, the very first military M16, that full video is right over here. Until next time, I'm Sam, keeping history alive one build at a time. 2 years later, Stoner, classic Stoner.